So a couple of days ago, I got a comment from a very longtime and loyal FFN fan here asking for a video on trades to make and players to target for your fantasy football playoffs in 2023. And here's the thing, we're heading into the last few weeks of the regular season of fantasy football. So lots of you are in situations where you're looking at the 4th seed through the 6th seed. And that's great. You're in the thick of the playoff hunt right now, and you need to keep on winning. Some of you have 1 or 2 losses though. Right? Some of you are basically a lock for a fantasy football playoff spot at this point. And regardless of what category you're in, you're looking to make moves to put yourself over the top. You're looking for a guy who can put you over the top. Well, here's the thing. I'm a man of the fantasy football community, and when my fan asks, I deliver this type of video. So I've compiled a list of my favorite players for the fantasy football playoffs here based on playoff schedules, team trajectory, and just player projections over the next several weeks. And we're putting that in this video today, guys. I'm very interactive with my audience, so please go down there, drop a like on this video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support, guys. Let's go ahead, dive right into these guys right here. So the first guy, I actually mentioned him in my buy low trade target video before week 9 fantasy football. It's Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. I love getting Isaiah Pacheco right now at this very moment. It's someone, like I said, discussed him in the week 9 buy low trade target video. And in that video, of course, I discussed the immediate upgrade you'll be getting at the running back position with him. And he's coming off a bad week 8. So you can take advantage of that value right there. Not only is he an immediate upgrade though, this guy is a long-term player. He's got tremendous playoff upside. Weeks 15 through 17 is typically most people's fantasy playoff schedule. So weeks 15 through 17, the Kansas City Chiefs are playing in New England in week 15. Then they're taking on the Las Vegas Raiders at home. Then they're taking on the Cincinnati Bengals at home. So essentially what you're looking at here is you're looking at a bottom half team against the run, the New England Patriots. You're looking at a bottom 10 team against the run, the Cincinnati Bengals, and a bottom 5 team against the run in the Las Vegas Raiders here. So their last 3 games, your playoff schedule, Isaiah Pacheco is taking on 3 straight favorable matchups in fantasy football for a running back. That leads to the best rest of season schedule for any running back in the entire league for Isaiah Pacheco. Kansas City, the good thing about them is they're going to continue to be competitive for the number 1 seed. The number 1 seed, because here's the thing, they've got 2 losses now after losing to Denver in week 8, which means they're going to be competitive with Cincinnati, probably with Jacksonville, probably with Miami, and maybe even Buffalo for that top seed, possibly Baltimore as well. So they're going to be competing for that number 1 seed, and they want it. They want that number 1 seed. They're not going to let up. They're not going to start pulling their best players all of a sudden, and Pacheco has established himself as a top tier option in this offense. It goes Kelsey, and then it goes Pacheco. You need to acquire him right now for a middle tier running back, middle tier RB2, like Josh Jacobs or Derrick Henry, because this guy's upside, specifically in the fantasy football playoffs, is for real. Absolutely target Isaiah Pacheco. Next guy on the list here, I've been big on him as well. Several last weeks, I've been big on Nico Collins. Nico Collins to me is just a guy that I've been really higher on than most other people. In the fantasy football community, as far as YouTubers go, I don't see many people as high as I am on Nico Collins right here. Here's the thing that we know. He's the number 1 wide receiver in Houston, and heading into week 8, he was averaging just under 100 yards per game. Now, that's going to go down after his week 8 performance because they lost to the Carolina Panthers, and Nico Collins was the leading receiver still, but he did not have a 100-yard game. I'll tell you that, and we'll leave it at that for sure. I've had conviction on this guy for quite a while, so I don't want it to come off as me just being biased towards a player, because here's the reality, you got to know when to fold him in fantasy football. And that's why on Monday nights, I come out with a what I got right and what I got wrong live stream, because you need to know when to fold them, and you need to know who you can trust on YouTube for fantasy football advice, and you can't trust someone who doesn't admit when they're wrong. That's why I do those on Mondays. I'm not wrong on Nico Collins right now. Let's take a quick look at something right here. So you're looking right now at the top 3 rest of season strength of schedules for the wide receiver positions in the NFL. in fantasy football terms. You're looking at Atlanta, New England, and Tampa Bay as the top 3. What do all those teams have in common right there? They've got 3 bad backup level quarterbacks here. Mac Jones, Desmond Ridder just got benched. He got pulled out of the game versus Tennessee in week 8. And Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield's a backup. And we're starting to see that they're losing a bunch of games now. These teams aren't going anywhere. So as easy as it would have been for me to say, like, go trade for Drake London, who I like as a player, this quarterback is not going to take him anywhere. It would have been easy for me to say, go trade for Evans. Tampa Bay is not going to be competitive for much longer. Number 4 on the list is Houston. And let's look at this as well. Weeks 15 through 17. Let's look at who they're playing in your fantasy playoffs. At Tennessee, bad passing defense. Versus Cleveland, that's a pretty decent matchup right there. Cleveland is a good defense. And then they're playing the Tennessee Titans again. So they've got good matchups here with Tennessee twice. That's the good thing. And here's the other part of this. Let's look at the AFC playoff schedule right now. You can see it on the screen. As of tonight, as I'm filming this on Sunday night, late, you can see that right now, both Pittsburgh and Cleveland round out the bottom 2 seeds in the AFC right now. Then you look at the top 3 teams outside looking in. You've got New York Jets, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals, and you've got Houston. Houston's got a better quarterback than both Cleveland and Pittsburgh right now. Of course, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to get it going. They're about to shoot into playoff territory right now. They're already there. They're already in playoff form right now. So they're going to be out of there kicking one of those teams out. And the Jets will be competitive because their team is good. But the Houston Texans are going to be competitive for the rest of the season right here. They're not going to roll over. They're well coached. They're coming off a bad loss. They're going to be mad after this game right here. So here's what I want in the fantasy football playoffs. I want a guy who's on a competitive team with a good quarterback and the number 1 wide receiver on a team with a good playoff schedule. Check, 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 check for Nico Collins right here. And the best part is, right now, he's cheaper than he should be. Go target Nico Collins right now because he's not going to be nearly as expensive as another top tier guy like I'm about to discuss right here, which is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, I do believe, will put you over the top in winning a fantasy football championship this year. And here's the thing about this type of video. It would be really easy for me to come out here and tell you guys, you need to get Jamar Chase, you need to get AJ Brown, you need to get Tyreek Hill, you need to get Christian McCaffrey. Those are the guys that are going to put you over the top and win you a fantasy championship. Yeah, no crap. Everybody wants those guys. Who is that really helping? You know what I mean? What we need to do here is we need to find a guy who is close to that tier that you still have the possibility of trading for. And Keenan feels like he's in that similar territory as those guys, but I think you can make this one happen easier than those other guys I mentioned. So as I said earlier, you're looking for a player who can bring you over the top. That's what you're looking for in this type of video here and in these types of trades for your fantasy football playoffs. You want someone who's going to put you over the top. Keenan Allen can and will do that. So over the past several games, Keenan Allen has had some down games, right? You're looking at less than 70 yards over the past 2 weeks and no touchdowns, right? That's not good for Keenan Allen. Now, when you put those numbers up against any other wide receiver, right? Like most wide receiver 2s, you'd be happy for that kind of performance. So it's all in relativity here, right? But for Keenan Allen, that's not his best. But what's also important to remember here, the target share. He's averaging over 9 targets per game over the last 2 games as well. So the importance to the offense has not gone away. And he's got the number 6 strength of schedule for wide receivers for the rest of the season in fantasy football. Weeks 15 through 17, the playoff schedule here is versus Denver, awful pass defense, at the Las Vegas Raiders, awful pass defense, and then versus the Buffalo Bills. That's the best defense right there. That's championship week. But here's the thing, the first 2 matchups are going to get you there. That's number 1. Number 2, they've got a very good quarterback who's going to keep them competitive throughout the rest of the season. They will be fighting for a playoff spot up until that point versus Buffalo. That's a fact right here. So when it comes to the good quarterback he's got, the importance on the offense, I will take him in a matchup against Buffalo when I know that he'll get me there versus Denver and versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Keenan Allen to me is a great trade target for your fantasy football playoffs because the schedule he's got is great, the upside he's got is great, and the importance in the offense is 100% not up for debate. Keenan Allen's a very good fantasy football playoff guy again. Our last two guys right here, they kind of go hand in hand a little bit. I'm not saying that you want to go out and target both of these guys because I think that they're both great on their own. If you could get both of them, that'd be great, but there's probably not going to be a world where you're going to get David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs on your same team. Everybody knows at this point that David Montgomery has been excellent. He was a revelation for a lot of people this year in fantasy football. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs, he started out as the favorite. He was the golden child this year coming into the season, and now his value plummeted several weeks ago. And he's starting to revive some people. He's starting to revive some hope into some people right now. Now, I've loved David Montgomery, his fantasy football value since like May. I've loved him for a long time before the season started. Everything was there for me. I was not big on Jahmyr Gibbs before the start of the season. I've come around on Jahmyr Gibbs because his value has been much more lower than it was at the start of the season, and it became a good buy low opportunity here for Jahmyr Gibbs. Here's what we know on both these players right here. Detroit has a top 3 offensive line. They're tremendous when it comes to run blocking. That's their strength right there. They're a good pass blocking team as well. Bottom line is they've got a top 3 offensive line in the NFL. They've got the 9th best strength of schedule for any running back and for the rest of fantasy football this year. Weeks 15 through 17, your fantasy playoffs, they're playing in Chicago, then they're playing Denver, then they're playing in Minnesota. Not exactly some great matchups right there. Those are pretty easy matchups right there. Those should be pretty much in the favor of Detroit, all 3 of those games. They're going to be fighting for playoff seeding there during that time as well. 100%. They're going to be fighting for a top 2 to 3 seed in the NFC. So the reality with this one is that it's a competitive team with a great offensive line with a great schedule here in your fantasy playoffs. And the run game is so massive for this offense. So you know that both of these players are going to remain important. You could still buy Gibbs pretty low. You could get it for a Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry type, and probably get something in addition to Jahmyr Gibbs. This is probably your last buy low opportunity for David Montgomery, though. You're going to have to send a guy who's a good RB2 for David Montgomery, but it's going to be worth it because the playoff schedule, the importance in the offense, the offensive line, these 2 running backs right here are going to help put you over the top for your fantasy football playoffs. So let me know what your record is in the comments below and what questions you need answered before week 9 fantasy football. And if you want to see the rest of season running back rankings for 2023 fantasy football, click on this video right here.